Hello, everybody. This is En route, and I got new glasses. That's it. But just kidding. Um, Today is a very important topic. Um, I don't really like to make videos unless it's something that's going to literally affect everyone's entire lives. So, today we're going to be talking about a little something called digital ID. And the problem with digital ID, let's just spitball around about what the issue of digital ID is. Well, if you've heard or haven't heard, I'm going to let you know. So, digital ID has been taking place in several countries around the world and has been invading itself into the West to a point where they're going to make it absolutely mandatory for you to have a digital ID to do anything. Now, if we can think of examples of what this digital ID is capable of doing, when you think about what was going on in Asia and China specifically, how people were targeted or made to be restricted from buying certain things, like, you can't go to this store, your ID is blocked, you can't do this thing, your ID is blocked, and we're going to hold on to all the money that you've earned because we don't like something that you said about our superior leaders. So there's a lot to unpack with this, so just bear with me, okay? We've seen that even in America, a lot of people's accounts were frozen, or money was seized, or people were blackballed specifically because they had one life view or another. And the problem with digital ID is that it's made by humans, okay? And the problem, and then people would say, oh, well, then we can just have AI do it. And the problem with AI is it's made by humans, okay? Everything can be created with a bias attached to it. And that is the biggest problem with digital ID. There's no bias. When you make $1, you have $1. You can spend $1, and that's that, okay? You have gold, you have silver, you earned it however you earned it, whether it be honest or not. The point of the matter is that honest people are going to be restricted more than we would think, because, again, at the press of a button, these things can just be monitored and changed and manipulated online. And the thing about this is that I've even had strange occurrences with my own banking account, which is why I like to have a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold, in the event that I can't, use my bank account. And always, try your best to have cash on hand. The thing is that I've even had issues with my account where I'm like, hey, I never saw this chargeback go back into the account. And so essentially the whole entire process was deleted from my statements. And so there was no recourse into being able to go back, because every time you talk to a bank attendant or associate, they would be like, well, it doesn't exist. The charge doesn't exist. Even though you know that money was there, there's no way for you to actually backtrack and look. And so there's always a way to create some kind of sleight of hand, especially when things are going to be dealt with online, right? Let's just not forget, like, people also there's also things to think about. Like, we have unexpected weather conditions that will bring down a system, take the grid off. And in that event, what does anybody do, right? So it's just, there's so many ways that this can go wrong, and it's being enforced more so for control I believe, rather than it for being to prevent fraud in so many different ways, okay? Because if they were trying to prevent fraud, they would unleash all of the ammo and energy and resources that we have on the black market. But going to that point, this digital ID is going to make the black market even bigger. The underground market is going to become absolutely insane. And things are going to be so unregulated that, people are just going to do things out of desperation because it's going to become a barter and trade. They're essentially forcing people into a barter and trade situation, a hawking situation, and, creating a bigger customer base for the black market. While maybe that's not going through other people's heads, I think, like an actual human being that lives in the world and isn't completely in a bubble of what it actually is to be a person that grew up poor and actually had to, really work their ass off in a way that most people, when they've had a caring, loving family unit and community, would never have to have experienced. And even going into that part, when we have something like a digital ID or a credit system or a system of, this person, like it's like putting a like button on your person, whoever you are, your personality. Oh, we don't like that person, so we're all going to gang up on this person so they are not able to access more resources based on the fact that we just don't like them. So you can see how this can put more people into a huge abuse cycle without ever being able to speak up for themselves and actually have a say in what their future is, right? We're going into something very dangerous. And also, the reason why I brought this up, because I was watching Andrei Jikhs' video, and it was very interesting what he was talking about. And it's all about dynamic pricing. You can go into so dynamic pricing is like when I go to a football game and everything costs $20, a bottle of water is $20, everything's so expensive and you can't bring anything in, so you're just forced to pay the prices that the vendors have there. Or when you're at an airport, like Andrew mentioned as an example, where everything is overpriced, but you have no choice because you can't bring any food or water into the airport. Okay, fine, great. But this is going to become a larger thing when implemented with the ID. And for example, like someone, one person could be desperate for something, as one of the examples he mentioned, like a sandwich, and be priced for the sandwich at $15, and another person that's not really that not pressed to get that sandwich might be priced for it at $10. And so when you have AI kind of gauging where you're at emotionally, and you have all these IDs gauging where you're at emotionally, pricing is going to become literally based upon the individual and less about, what is just available to everybody. There's nothing about fair pricing. It's like, oh, I like you, you can have it for less. I don't like you, you're going to have to pay a premium, and it can get to that point, and it's like, imagine everywhere is like Disneyland, but some people get it at a discount and some people don't, there's going to be a time-stamped log of everything you do. There's going to be, they're going to start trying to push the fingerprint and the iris. They've already made it so that you can walk into a store and there's cameras everywhere and there's no clerk, there's no attendant, and you can just pick out what you need and walk out. And while that sounds great, you need to have a certain good standing in order to even enter the store, access the store, be able to make the doors open, right? So there's that, right? And so, yeah, okay, fine, we're trying to protect from thieves or whatever. But, all of these thieves and things like that were intentionally allowed to do so so they can have a reason to make things this strict and this just what's the word? It's make things so monitored. And so, yeah, we're saying protecting from fraud, but that is only for the little guy. And all the people in charge of all of this implementation can, essentially make it so that, oh, okay, well, I can get this kind of discount, and I can get this kind of discount, and I can get this kind of discount, and then everybody else doesn't. So we're not, and the thing is that we're not actually in charge of what is going on at the top and the people that have full control of this. So it's not like, yeah, they're going to make it fair, maybe to some degree, but for the people that are in the club that you're not in, it's going to be so much easier for them to bypass a lot of these things that are going to inconvenience your life more than you would think, right? You're not going to have any privacy, right? You're not going to be able to, own nothing and be happy. It's getting into all of these things, right? And that's another thing. That's another big point, is that the whole subscription process of everything is just becoming a little bit ridiculous. Why does Photoshop have to be a bill all of a sudden? $70 a month to use Photoshop and to get the whole thing. $70. You used to be able to buy Photoshop, and now I have to pay $70 a month to use Photoshop and use Adobe Premiere, all of this stuff for video editing and things like that. And it's just like, it's a bill now. Everything is a bill. Everything you do is a bill. Breathing air is going to become a bill, it feels like. And it's just ridiculous. So I want to go into something, and hopefully this video doesn't cut off. If it does, hey, whatever. We'll end it there. But there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about when, this whole digital ID and when people group up against a specific person, right? So many people can group up against a person they don't like, and their credit score, their social credit score, not their financial credit score, their social credit score is going to be implemented into this whole thing. If we genuinely think that people are not going to get blackballed and erased from history, we have another thing coming. I forgot who I was watching. I was watching some guy, and he was talking about how he was communicating with Chat GPT about somebody that is well known in some industry. I forgot. I wish I could find the video again, but I don't really know where I saw it. And he was talking to Chat GPT, and Chat GPT was like, there is no existence of this person. So all of these things that we're going to be relying on are going to be meticulously altered in a way to change history and to lie to people. And this guy's like, I know this guy exists. I've been following this guy for a decade. He's, this and this and that. And ChatGPT doesn't even acknowledge him because he's been blackballed. He's been blacklisted. He's been erased from history. So this is a huge problem, okay? Now, you think about people that are abused and isolated from society and treated unfairly, okay? Some people are socially harmful to people, and I've dealt with this. I'll tell you, I've dealt with I have not a single family member in my life that I can go to and rely on and trust at all. Everyone in my family was recklessly negligent towards me, socially harmful, created character assassinations against my life, screwed me out of opportunities, okay, essentially gave me agoraphobia, trying to give me mental health effects so that they can throw me in a hospital, trying to find ways to to trigger me to a point where they can actually say, oh, she's crazy, throw her in a loony bin. When they had all of the power to help me, they decided to disempower me instead. And it is only, me growing up and understanding certain things and realizing things that I should have never been treated that way. They were pretending to show love when they didn't. So, like, if they wanted to get some information out of me or whatever, then they'll try to be nice and they'll try to do things. And I'll be like, oh, this is interesting behavior. Wow, they're being kind to me. Okay. And so I'll go over here and divulge things and try, be like, okay, maybe I was just, overreacting. And then boom, they switch on you and they betray you. Okay. They just try to make the trauma worse. So they would constantly try to give me injuries emotionally so that I could go and spiral out of control. It forced me into a lot of positions. I had to give my dog away. And there was no sympathy given to me, in the process, because when I broke my rib, no one really wanted to help me. It was almost as if they were trying to passively let me die, without, without keeping while trying to keep their hands clean. They would do things to agitate my ability to heal. So essentially throwing rocks and hiding their hand. Okay, they tiraded over my life. They set me up in a way that if I spoke up or spoke out, I would look crazy. And then the majority of people that attacked me knew nothing about the reality of the situation. So a lot of people, or people would call it a flying monkey, would act based off of just what hearsay was heard. And so because of where I stood on the social hierarchy in my life in the group of people, because I was young, naive, and not understanding, oh, she's just a teen mom. Okay, you can't listen to her, and, try to essentially punish me my entire life for one mistake, even though they're Christians, and bringing a child into this world is technically a blessing. For me, it was a way for them to try to curse me. So it was a whole big thing. And so you can imagine that if we have something like a social ID, how groups of people can come together to create an even worse situation for somebody, abuse somebody so much more, and make it so that they can manipulate the system in a way against them, And so I think that this whole ID thing is going to be extremely dangerous, okay? And it's not just that. If we have a grid down situation, what makes us think that we're going to be able to just use our stuff all everywhere? If the power goes out, no one's going to be able to use a cash register. No one's going to be able to use anything, And then sure, maybe we'll have some places where they have backup generators that they can use to do whatever, okay? But that's not the point. The majority of places will go down, and then they'll use this as an excuse to close more mom and pop shops and make it so that, oh, well, now you have to rely on the big giant retailers to do everything. And it's going to be coronavirus all over again, where we're losing companies that have been around for years and years and years. 40, 50, 60 years, and then boom, they're gone because, oh, well, sorry, you can only rely on this major company to do anything. And then everything gets monopolized. Nothing is, ours anymore. And then because they've created a monopoly in the market, everyone is going to be enslaved to whatever is available to them. And that's just going to be not fair. It's not going to be fair. It's not going to be suitable for a harmonious, happy, healthy way of living. It's going to be a way for big monopolies to farm people's income into their place, and for those people to benefit off of it while everyone else becomes a slave. And maybe I'm just thinking too deeply and too far into this, but it is dangerous. This is what's happening is dangerous. And the fact that we rely so heavily now on AI and this and that, when at the end of the day, behind it all is a human being, and humans are corruptible, which means AI is corruptible. And if you don't understand that, well, please wake up, okay? This digital ID should not be accepted. Subscription-based living should not be accepted. We should find ways to go and do the things we need to do in our lives without having to pay out the wazoo for subscriptions. Okay? I have only been able to survive at the way that I've been able to survive and actually somewhat thrive in my life because we don't have such a society where everything is monitored and controlled. And I had the ability to, do things. Now, I wouldn't say under the table, but do things in a way where I don't have to answer to anybody. And if we go into a society where everything's digital ID, everything's going to be based upon whether someone likes you or not, or whether or not people think you're in the in crowd or not, or whatever. And you think it's not going to become some popularity contest? Think again. This is dangerous territory. This is very dangerous territory. And it's not just that. With this tax ID, this new digital ID, they're going to be able to tax you anywhere in the world that you are. Okay, this is a worldwide thing. They're trying to bring everything in the world together because they don't want anybody to be able to run anywhere without anyone knowing what you're doing and what's what, okay? No privacy, no freedom. Every single move you make will be tracked, okay? And that's the problem with cash, is that every single move can't be tracked. I can go buy whatever I want to buy, do whatever I want to do, go wherever I want to go for the most part with cash. And then they say, oh, well, paperwork is it's a mess, and it's not always accurate, and it can be forged, and you can forge documents, but you can literally delete things off of any kind of internet program. You can literally erase things. You can say things are there when they're not there. You can alter digitally even more than you can with paperwork. There's ways to show that paperwork is official. With digital this and that, you can literally alter anything you want to alter online. And then you'll go somewhere, and let's say someone decided to alter your stuff because they're in the who's and the knows and the ins and the ins, and they're like, oh, I don't like that person. Let's kind of mess with their income and make it so that, oh, I'm trying to go get groceries, and now, oh, I can only get this number of groceries now. I've been forced into some kind of, smaller amount or whatever. And it's not just that too. They can completely shut you off from it. And so they could force you to be homeless. They can essentially take you off the map, erase you from society, and force you to be homeless. And then they're going to create an underground society, a black market society. This is what's going to happen if this is implemented. Okay? Cash is king. Gold and silver is king. Stop trying to put everything online. Everybody's like, and I saw some comment to me, and I was just like, this is why I keep saying we need to have a tea party again. And this comment was like, well, some places don't accept cash. And I'm like, well, that's just some places. Not everybody is going to want to go into this whole digital thing, okay? And I tell you what, take care of your farmers market people, your hawkers. Take care of your hawkers. Take care of your hawkers, because this isn't going to be good. This isn't going to be good at all. There's so many ways I can think about it. The video is getting a little bit long. There's so many ways I can think about it. There's so many ways I can think about it going wrong, because at the end of the day, people will be people. All right. Having multiple streams. See, and that's the thing. I'm not against credit cards. I'm not against debit cards. I'm not against banks. What I am against is making everything one thing and not having multiple options or answers to one given thing. We need variety. We need variety. Okay, we need cash, we need silver, we need gold, we need to be able to use our credit card to buy something online. We need it all. We don't need just one. And when you put things at just one, you can make it extremely corrupt very quickly. We have seen in voting, just in voting, that they decided, okay, well, let's write these people that are dead and put them in the ballot. They've put dead people in ballots, and you think that they're not going to do something corrupt when they have this much control and this much say-so over your financial life and everything else. This is dangerous, and we should absolutely reject it. Reject it. There is no vote. There's no vote for digital ID. Where's the vote on the ballot? I didn't vote for this. This is unconstitutional. This is unconstitutional. You are losing your country if you accept this. So I will leave you with that. All right. God bless. This is En route, and I'm out.